Hey guys, welcome back to C Hash or C Sharp tutorial session 3. In today's session, you can learn about the C Hash data type, value, reference and pointer data type. A data type is a classification of the type of data that a variable or object can hold in computer programming. It is important to use the correct data type for the corresponding variable to avoid error to save time and memory. So C has supports three categories of data type: the value data type, reference data type and the pointer data types. So in any programming language, data type is really required to define the type of the data. So CS also, right? There are a couple of data types available and under which there are some few subcategories available. So what is value data type? So it will directly store the variable value in the memory and it will also accept both signed and unsigned literals. So signed and unsigned means signed means sometime it can hold both the positive and negative value. Unsigned means it will only take the positive value, right? Or 0 to positive value, it will not take any negative value. So in the value data type, there are primary four types available. One is signed and unsigned integral type, floating point types, character type and conditional type. So in signed and unsigned integral type, there are primarily 8 different data types available: byte, sbyte, short, integer, long, ushort, uint, ulong. So byte, it will hold, right, 8 bits of data. So it will be holding the data, it is as 8 bits. So it will hold the data called 2 to the power 8, means 256 character. So data will, right, vary from 0 to 255. So it can hold only the value from 0 to 255. It cannot hold any negative value. So byte will only can store value from 0 to 255 as it's 8 bit. So let's define something and let's see how the data type play and pivotal role into the C has. So this is the C sharp tutorial project created. So you already see in the first two sessions how to create the project, right? And this is the program.class program.cs file and this is the main method. Now I can close the solution explorer as well so that the screen will be big and you can easily understand here. Now if I want to define, right, the byte data type, so how can I do it? So let's create something called byte, that is the data type, and we need to create some variable called b, and I can define some value called, suppose say 20, and it will only consider the value from 0 to 255. Then I can print it out, right? So I can use console.WriteLine. I can use that all word only, and here I can change the variable. So you no need to give the double quote because it is directly calling the variable. So you can just call the variable here. So this is the data type, this is the variable, and this is the corresponding value. The first one is data type, then variable equal to value. So that is the way you need to, right, define the data type and variable. You need to assign the value, and now you can print it out. So now if you run your code with the help of the start button, if you just try to run your project or the main method, you could able to see the desired output here, right, coming 20. So the byte, right, data type will consider or will only can contain the value from 0 to 255, right? So if you give like around more than 255, suppose say I am giving 260, is it possible? No, you could see error messages coming, right? There is error message coming. If you still, if you want to run the code, you could see that constant value 260 cannot be converted to byte, right? So that is the way it will throw the error. So in case if you want to give more value, you need to define something called integer or unsigned integer. You mean unsigned integer. Then we will see about the s byte. So you also cannot define a negative value as well, right? Here, if you declare something called byte, because only it can hold the value from the positive value 0 to 55. So if you want to define something called s byte, right, or signed byte, so it will be also same 2 to the power 8 means 256 character, but here it will be from minus 128 0 and 2 till plus 127. So it can store positive value as well as it can store negative value. So it is called sign byte, s byte. So here let's create one more variable for that one, right? Give is byte, and here you can give minus 20 value because it will hold the value from minus 28 0 and plus 27. Say give a sign byte sb, and I can also change the variable name. Now if you run your code, it will work fine. So it will be minus 20. Okay, you could see it is coming as minus 20. The next one is sort. It will consider the value 2 to the power 16. So it can consider the negative to the positive one. Integer, it will be consisting 2 to the power 32 bits. It can contain also negative to the positive value. Long, 2 to the power 64, right? It can contain also negative to positive. Whereas usort means unsigned sort, right? Will only contain the positive value from 0 to positive value, and uint 2 to the power 32 0 to positive value. Ulong also similar way, unsigned long 0 to 2 to the power 64. It cannot contain the negative value. Now let's define one by one. Sort. So sort can contain also negative value. So short, sort, that is data type. I can give some variable name as s. I can go with like 2 to the power 16 bit. Okay, I can give suppose say minus 1000. So it can contain that value. Now I can print out it. Then I can define integer. So it will be int I. It can contain also negative value as well, right? Suppose say minus 10,000, and I can print it out, the value integer. That is the way I can define, and I can try to print it out. Then for the long, it can also contain negative value. So I can define something called long equal to minus say give, and you and then at the end you can give a letter. So that way you can define the long. Okay. Now there are three more variable called usort, means unsigned sort. So it will be only contain the positive value 0 to positive value, uint or unsigned int, ulong or unsigned long. So similar way I can define these three. You could see sort, int and long, it will not take the negative value. So if you want to add negative value, so you need to define something called unsigned sort. So I can give us sort, sorry, okay. So yeah, sort, integer and long, it can contain negative and positive value, but in case as and when you are defining as unsigned sort only it will take the positive value. So I can give it 2000, right, and I can print it out. Similar way, because there's error because the variable cannot be duplicate, it should be unique always in your code in the same class. So uint, here unsigned in, it cannot have the negative value, so it only should have the 0 to positive value. So I can give 20,000. Then I can change the variable name ui unsigned integer, and here I can also print it out unsigned integer. Similarly I can make it unsigned long variable, and here I can give something called positive value, right, and I can change the variable name unsigned long, and here also I can make it unsigned long. Now if I at the end of the code, right, you need to use Console.ReadKey so that all the details will be printed in the console. Now if you save your code, and you can click on the start button so that relevant details will be printed out in the console window. So you could see there are 8 value printed out here. So if you verify one by one, so I have defined byte as 20, positive 20, so it is coming as 20. The next one is since like signed byte, which can contain the negative value minus 128 minus 128 0 and plus 127, so it is coming as minus 20. Second one is byte. Then sort minus 1000, so it is coming here. Then integer minus 10,000, so also it is coming here. then the long value, right, 1098 9999 negative sign, then the unsigned short 2000, it is printed out here, it cannot contain the negative value. Then your unsigned integer 2 lakhs, it is also coming here. Then unsigned long 910989999. So all the right data type are working properly fine. So that is the way you can define, right, 8 different signed and unsigned integral type. So out of the value data type, so this is the one category under which there are 8 types available, and second one is the floating point type. So which can contain, right, decimal places value. So number with decimal places. So floating point types. So under which there are 3 primary category available. One is the float, one is double, and one is decimal. So float, the size is 32 bits, double size is 64 bit, whereas decimal size is, right, 128 bits. Okay, so how can I define the value here? So let's create some variable and let's see how we can work with this also. So for the float, I can close it here, I can comment it out, this one. So that is the way you can comment it out at the last of the code, and this is the first of the code, slash start, right? Then say I want to define something called float here. So data type will be float, and I can define the variable name as f. And how can I define the float? So you need to give the value, and at the end you need to mention f. So suppose say I am giving 68.678, I can mention as f after that. And here if I want to type the print the value, I can give it f. So that is the way you can define the float. Then the double, I can, because double will contain more character, like it is 64 bit, double, that is the variable. I can define the variable, so that is the data type, that variable name is d, and I can give some value, like, so that is the way I can give some value called double. Then I can also print the value in the console with the variable name double. The next one is decimal. So data type will be decimal here, and I can define some variable dec, and here I can give something, right, I can at the end, right, I can use some suffix called m. Suppose say I am giving 436.78 m. So that is the way I can define decimal. So m will be suffix for the decimal, and here I can print out the variable dec. Now if you run your code, you could able to see those are the different floating data types. That is the way you can define, you can assign the value, you can create a variable, and you can run your codes that thought the corresponding value will be printed in the console for these floating data types. So you could see here, first one is coming as 68.678, which is the floating data type. Second one is also coming whatever way you define for the double, and third one is coming as 456.78. So m part is not considering, m is, we can give as a suffix. For the float, I can give as a f as a suffix, and for the decimal I can give m as a suffix. So that is the way you can deal with these 3 kind of data type as well as part of the floating point type, which is obviously it's a part of value data type. Then the next two for the value data types will be character and conditional. So in the character it will be char, and conditional it will be boolean or bool I need to define. So character can contain like the value for the smaller a to z or capital A to z. So character also it will be 16 bit, used to store a single character. The character must be surrounded by single quotes, like the small cap word or the uppercase or the lowercase word, right, alphabet word. Whereas boolean, like it will only one bit, like we can only hold, right, we can only hold the value called true or false. In case you are giving any other thing, right, it will be throwing the error. Okay, now let's comment out this part and let's see how can we work with the other remaining two types. So for the character, so I can something called char c. Here I can give within the first code, right? Any alphabet character with the lowercase or uppercase, only single character. Suppose I am giving something called z, and I need to end with colon, and I can print it out in the console. C. So, and in case I want to give another character, want to print another character, right? So I can go with C1, and here I can click a molar word, right? Suppose smaller a, and I can print C1. Similarly, the last one is the boolean. So how can I define? So data type will be bool, and I can define b variable, and it will only take value called true or false, right? And if you try to print it out, it will be printed out accordingly. Now let's try to run the code and let's see how it is behaving. So you could see the first one we are printing the character capital uppercase Z, so it is working here. And second one, character value C1, right, character type C1, where I am just assigning the lowercase a, and third one is true here for the boolean. Now boolean can only take the true or false, right, false value. It can only contain, but if you give any other value apart from true and false, it will throw the error. Okay, you can just give value. Similarly here also, if you give more word, right, it will throw the error. You could see if you try to run the code, and let's see how it is behaving. So character can only contain one single character, alphabet character, uppercase or lowercase. You could see too many character in the literal, right? If you give anything more than false one, right, or true one, it will also throw the error. If you run your code, it will throw the error. False one does not exist in the current context. So that is the way, right? There are total 8 signed and unsigned integral type, 3 floating point type, character type, and the boolean type is available as part of the value data type. So value data type is nothing but it will directly store the variable value in memory, and it will also accept both signed and unsigned literals. The next one will be reference data type. So it will contain a memory address of a variable value, because the reference type won't store the variable value directly in the memory. So reference data type in C has are class, interface, string, arrays, enum, etc. So just I will be giving simple example here how can you define a reference data type. So you can mention something called string. Remaining part you will be learning slowly in the upcoming video. Suppose I can define something called str equal to C has tutorial, right? Now I can print it out. Right, if you are running your code, that also will be printed out correctly. You could see C has tutorial is, right, printed out correctly. So that is the way you can also deal with the reference data type. So lot of things is there, it will be discussed in the upcoming sessions or videos. The last one is the pointer data type, which is known as locator or indicator that point to an address of a value. To get the pointer details, there are two symbols, ampersand and asterisk is available. Ampersand, it is also known as address operator. It is used to determine the address of a variable, whereas asterisk is also known as indirection operator. It is used to access the value of an address. So that is the way you can define some pointer data like integer star a, right? Integer ampersand c, its character star c. So integer star a is pointer to the integer, whereas character star c is pointer to the character. So that's all from today's session. Thank you.